Bringing home a new puppy can be so exciting, but it can also be a little bit stressful. So I've put together my 10 commandments for successful puppy parenting. 1. Thou shalt not give in to crying. When settling in a new puppy, I always recommend getting a crate. Make it cozy and inviting, somewhere they really feel safe. Even if you plan to have your dog sleep in your room or even in your bed, no judgment, that's where my dogs sleep. It's important for them to learn from the beginning how to settle on their own. If you give in to crying now, you will regret it later. 2. Thou shalt not leave the door open and call it toilet training. Leaving a door open or having a doggy door, allowing your dog to come and go as they please, is not the same as toilet training. They may have learned to go to the toilet outside on the grass, but they haven't learned to wait to be let out. So don't start leaving doors open until you're confident that your dog knows the difference between inside and out. 3. Thou shalt not let puppies make the rules. One of my pet hates as a vet is hearing owners say, "Oh, I can't do that, Dr. Karyn. He won't let me." He's a dog. He absolutely should let you do anything that you need to do. Once they've reached adulthood, this can be a very difficult one to undo. So when you've got a pup, this is the time to let them know that you can open their mouth, look in their ears, play with their feet, look at their toenails. You should be able to safely do anything with your dog. So it's important to push past the protests, ignore the little tantrums, so that they learn that just because they don't like something doesn't mean they're going to get their way. 4. Thou shalt not teach too many things at once. We're always eager to get our dog training underway. And often we want to teach them to sit and stay and come to their name. And it can be really overwhelming if you try to take on too many things at once. So prioritize the things you want to train your dog. And I recommend doing it in this order. Recall. Way before sit, stay, or anything else, you need to know that your dog knows its name and knows to come when they're called. Drop it or leave it. If you've ever had to try and prise something out of your dog's mouth, you will understand the value of teaching your dog to drop something that they've picked up in their mouth. Sit. Usually the one that most people want to go to first, and it's actually one of the easiest things to teach because it can start through passive training. And what I mean by that is you start teaching the sit command when your dog just sits naturally. Rather than trying to teach them what that word means, whenever they sit, you say the word and you give them a reward. It doesn't take long for them to make that association. Stay, one of the hardest ones to do and one that you have to be really, really patient and consistent with. When they don't stay, you have to take them back to where you started, but it does pay off. Off. A really good one, especially when you've got kids or visitors, teaching your dog off if they are jumping up is really important. 5. Thou shalt not keep repeating yourself. Does this sound familiar? Sit, 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 sit. Good boy. Excellent. You've just taught your dog to sit after the 12th command. Get your dog's attention, give them the command, and trust me, they heard you the first time. Just wait for them to follow that command. 6. Thou shalt not be inconsistent. We all know that rules are made to be broken, and we might start out saying that our dogs will never be allowed on the sofa, in the bedroom, on the bed. But we also know that those rules often fall by the wayside. But when your puppy is in early training mode, it's important to make those rules, set those boundaries, and stick to them. Everybody in the house needs to be consistent with that. Otherwise, it's really unfair when one person is saying one thing and another is saying something different. 7. Thou shalt learn the no bark. What's the no bark? This is something that I find really, really helpful, especially for women and kids, because dogs naturally respond better to the deeper register of the male voice. I know, really unfair, but it is what it is. Particularly important when you've got young kids playing with dogs. Often their high-pitched squeals and squeaks actually excite your dog rather than getting them to stop. So the no bark. You might feel silly, but it's really important for everybody to practice it because there will be times when your dog is doing something naughty, dangerous, or disgusting, and you need to be able to interrupt them right away. Think of yourself as being a big gruff dog and you give the word no. And I will guarantee you'll see a reaction. 8. Thou shalt allow other dogs to put your puppy in their place. Obviously, it's important to socialize our dogs and let them meet and interact with other dogs. It's equally important to let those older adult dogs discipline your puppy. Dogs know that puppies are young and inexperienced, and they're much more likely to discipline or correct them with a noisy bark and no bite. But as your puppy gets older, those dogs are going to be less likely to pull their punches. So let dogs teach your puppy manners and only intervene if things look like they're getting out of hand. 9. Thou shalt take things away from your puppy. This is something that if you don't teach from a young age can get really dangerous when they get older. You end up with a dog that resource guards, growls when they're approached and when they're eating, and that shouldn't be the case. An important part of this process that a lot of people don't understand is that they need to be able to take food or toys from their pup, but they also need to then return them. This teaches your puppy that you can take things away, but they will get them back. This makes them much less likely to guard their belongings and food in the future, making them much safer. 10. Thou shalt vaccinate your puppy. I don't care what your views on vaccination are, I really don't. If you've ever watched a puppy die from the horrific and completely preventable parvovirus, you will understand how important a puppy's vaccinations are. What you choose to do later on is, of course, your decision, but I strongly urge puppy owners to get their puppy's full vaccination course completed with a booster 12 months later. The risk of an adverse reaction to a vaccination in dogs is minute. I'm talking minuscule. But the risk of suffering a horrible death from a preventable endemic infection is high. And if you refuse to protect your puppy from completely preventable illness, you shouldn't have one. I hope that helps with the puppy raising. Check out dogster.com if you want to know more.